let's go ahead and get started. All right. Everything, the training today, what you are going to be learning and what we'll be sharing today, it all goes back to 2 weeks ago when I got this really interesting message from Dr. Sinan Gochman. He said, Sam, I need to crank up the leads. I know what to do now. It gives me chills now just saying it again. I know what to do now, which implies that he didn't before. Okay. Now, this is a really, really cool story. Okay. But I want to tell you why it's so important for you. So we need to understand Dr. Gochman and what happened. So when he started with Patient Stream, I don't know, 3 months ago, something like that, he started off just doing incredibly well. And he sent this video testimonial.
Hey, this is Dr. Sinan Gochman. I practice here in Davenport, Iowa, and just want to shoot a quick little testimonial and just let you know that, guys, I've been using Patient Stream now for just a little over a week, and the results have been great. We've had over 26 leads come in, and 7 of those have booked appointments and utilized them for the SoftWave campaign, specifically for the knee niche there. So really excited about how it's going so far, and looking forward to it always getting better and be able to utilize it for different niches. So yeah, Patient Stream is working great, and again, just the ease of use and the being able to control the different campaigns has been great for us. So really excited with how it's been going, and again, just couldn't be happier with the results we've been getting so far. Thanks.
Okay. So when he first started with this, as you saw, he started getting a lot of leads, and really like the movement, the motor that drives the practice is that first piece, which is qualified leads and marketing, get everything coming in. So he started getting qualified knee leads, getting people into the practice. He was converting patients, but something seemed a little off. And when I say something seemed a little off, I reached out to him and I said, hey, Sinan, it looks like you're crushing it. I want to know what kind of results you're getting. Tell me what you're doing, which I'm terrible at asking for results. I've got so many things going on, right? And it's incredibly interesting because the conversation that ensued changed his life. And I'm not kidding, changed his life. I'm incredibly excited. So when I talked about the green light system, okay, basically what we've identified here at Patient Stream are certain checkpoints, okay? Qualified leads. The good thing is with Patient Stream, every campaign starts out with qualified leads. That's the formula. We've proven that there's no need to, reinvent the wheel. So qualified leads, appointments, shows, conversions, and then case values. This is what creates, in effect, a growth department within your practice, or we can call it a marketing department if we want to be very literal. Now, when we were in that conversation we were having, things were going fine. But the reality was he wasn't making that much money. In fact, as I walked him through these checkpoints, all right, you're getting qualified leads, you're getting appointments, all of these lights were green. And that's good for me. If we don't have to solve some of these problems that, can stop a high performing campaign, then that's awesome. Okay. But he was only getting $1,000 per case. I'm like, oh man, that's not good. We got to fix that. And by the way, this is exactly when most people think, well, the reason my case values stink is because the leads suck. Wrong. Every practice has a blind spot. I'll give you an example. This is the most common blind spot, meaning we start out with qualified leads and then these checkpoints go on. All right. And left unaddressed, your marketing will never work anyway. Just won't work. Okay. Now, in this case, this is a very common scenario. When you see these green lights, these red lights, we'll get qualified leads, but we're not getting appointments. So what do you do? What do we do at Patient Stream if we're not getting the appointments? Well, you got 2 options. Okay. Number 1, we can give you the exact same tools that we use to train our staff or other clinics that have used the same training, scripts, videos, role plays, all of that stuff. You can get that right in New Patient School freely. Okay. So that's number 1. Or if you don't have the time, the staff, the whatever, just plug into our team and we'll do it for you. You plug into our team and that light immediately turns green. Okay. And the cool thing is when you fix this one problem, you get all lights green. Okay. We're going to talk about this case value in just a minute. That's what we're going to talk about later today. But the idea is to constrain the different checkpoints so your growth can be free, so you can grow quickly. All right. Now, like I said, this is one that I see a lot. And if you've ever had experiences, in fact, I was on a call with a gentleman last week or the week before, and I explained this to him. And I said, you know, this is kind of where we see most people drop off. The reason I ask the questions that I ask when I do a discovery call is because I want to know, are you going to fall off at the appointment checkpoint? If you are, we may as well fix it from the beginning. Okay. And he said to me, he goes, you know, Sam, I appreciate that you explained this to me. Anytime in the past, we've added lead generation to our growth strategy. I see our staff become so disgruntled. And while we get more patients, I've also lost staff because of it. You guys ever felt like this? You ever had this experience? You ever wondered, this is all this commotion and activity, but excuse me, but this just keeps blowing up in our face. Why? Hint, by the way, if you're in that situation, just let us do it. Let the pros do it. That's what we do all day long. All right. So this is kind of a dovetail from this situation from Dr. Gochman, from the green light formula, this process, into our next case study, which is incredibly important. Many of you have heard me talk about Dr. Ray Peavy. Okay. I want you to hear his quick little 1-minute video.
Within about maybe 2.5 months, we doubled the practice.
And about how long did it take you to go from 100 visits up to where you're at right now, about 200?
We started mid-December. Granted, there was a learning curve with the system for pretty much I'd say the first 6 weeks.
Okay.
It really wasn't until the tail end of January that I saw this climb. Every week we were breaking a record, breaking record. And so by about probably early March, late February, right around there, we were starting to get ready to crack the 200 visit per week.
Right.
So when we started in December of 2020, we were around about roughly 90 to 105 patients a week on the average. So you take that, go to January, February, within about maybe 2.5 months, we doubled the practice.
Awesome. I love Dr. Peavy's story. There's a lot of really cool gems to pull out of his exact story and how he was able to do this. But I want to highlight really important, like this is really important, is highlight his first 6 weeks. See, his first 6 weeks. Now, we did an in-depth interview. So in this short testimonial, you're not seeing that, but we did an in-depth interview where I went through the whole process. And his first 6 weeks were not easy, mostly because when the pandemic hit, it cut his practice by more than half. And mentally, everything that was going on, he was in a tough situation. Okay. But then one day, and I tell this story all the time, I love it. I just love this story. One day he was walking by the front desk and he heard the front desk on the phone with a lead. And he said, "Is that a Facebook lead?" And she said, "Yes." He goes, "Can you transfer that to me?" He does a quick 3 to 5 minute consult. The patient shows up the next day, converts to care at a high case value. And all of a sudden he's thinking to himself, wait a minute, why was this so hard before? And by implementing a couple of changes that he made, which we cover in the interview, they were able to then, once they figured out, they were able to turn that red light into a green light, and they doubled their practice in 2.5 months. That's how quickly things can change when you identify the constraints and go from there. So here's a question. Do you have a blind spot? When you look at these green lights, do you have any red lights that you think might be hurting your growth? More on that later. Let's get back to Dr. Gochman. Okay. Now, what was the thing? What was the transition? How was he able to fix his practice? And how was he able to go from a $1,000 case value up to a $4,000 case value in a single day? You guys want to jump onto that part of the training? We're about 20 minutes in. I hope that I've set this up perfectly. But I am going to go ahead and bring on my guest here. Okay. Sonny, are you able to unmute yourself?
I am. Can you hear me, Sam?
Yes, I got you. So for those of you who have not maybe been on a previous training where Dr. Gill has spoken, if I could just spend just 2 minutes, I'll do a quick introduction and then he'll jump into how he was able to help Dr. Gochman make such an amazing transition. So Dr. Gill, I've known Dr. Gill, by the way, for 7+ years. He brought me into this business. He brought me into the space. At the time when he brought me into, the space of wellness, alternative solutions using chiropractic, integrated clinics, acupuncture clinics, all that. At that time, I didn't know much about it. And he had a thriving practice in the state of Washington. And we were also at the time coaching, I don't know, I always say 7 to 13. I can never remember how many it was, a lot of practices in the Puget Sound area. I've watched him grow practices very quickly. I've watched him sell practices. I know he's, going around and doing a lot of stuff where he's helping people make amazing transitions in their own practices. And so there's no one better. There's nobody I would put my personal stamp of approval on more than Dr. Sonny Gill. So he's not on video today, but we will have audio with him. He's traveling around the country again, doing what he's going to show and share with you today. So with that, first, thank you, Dr. Gill, for agreeing to share what you're going to be sharing, because I know I've seen the slides. I know what's in there. And this is like the meat and potatoes on how to actually get these outcomes. So first, thank you for being willing to share this. And second, welcome. And I will turn the time over to you.
Awesome. Yeah. So what I want to go through is when you have a lead, the exact process of them coming through the office is the key. So the first thing I always say, it's the office flow is important. So when a patient comes in, you need to have a system in place. And recently, within the last month, I was at an office where they had one of their practitioners doing their new patient exams, their consultations. And when I observed it, they weren't following any type of system. It was just done on a whim. You have to have an exact system for processing a new patient, a new lead. And the exact words that come out of your mouth do matter. I mean, I always say this, anytime I'm training a new practitioner, the reason the exact words that come out of your mouth matter is because we know what happens if they don't start care. We know what happens if they leave the office. They go to the urgent care, they get the pain meds, they get the surgical consults, they get the surgery, they're on opioids. So when a patient does not make it into the office, we know what happens. Just a side story, I had a patient show up at one of our trainings, a real patient show up, and I was doing a training. And she was a fibromyalgia patient. She was on 11 medications, no joke, 11 medications. Her whole life was affected. And I didn't say this to the patient, but I definitely was thinking, I'm like, imagine we had seen her 5 years ago or 10 years ago and got her started on a care plan. She wouldn't be where she is today. So the office flow, the exact words do matter. So typically we'll talk about office flow today, report of findings, the closing protocol. The closing protocol is something I made specifically that's done right before the financial, seconds before the financial, to see if there's any objections that the patient has that you need to pull out and handle before they see the case manager for numbers. And then the financial presentation itself and advanced closing options. This is the one where someone says, can I get a photocopy? Let me go home and talk to my wife. Let me go home and talk to my husband, or, let me think about this. Those always make me cringe, because we know we can help them and they know we can help them, but they want a photocopy. So how we handle those, and just handling objections in general. So,
okay.
So this is a quick slide on how I break. Sam, you can kind of pull the whole thing up here. Yeah. This is how I break down. If I'm doing a 1-day close, typically, if it's direct to office, we do it over 2 days. But if they're coming from a lecture and they're fully educated, this is my flow. So the consultation is usually between 7 to 10 minutes, closer to 7. And the goal of the consultation is to bring them to my reality. I have 7 minutes to bring them to my reality. Their reality might be, let's say someone has daily headaches. We see this all the time. In your offices, you're going to see patients with headaches 4, 5, 7 days a week. And what happens is they don't come to our offices usually. They'll go to their GP, they'll go to urgent care, and then they'll tell their doctor that I have daily headaches. And their doctor won't even make eye contact and just write it down, won't even palpate them, examine them, no orthopedic testing, no touching the patient, and the appointment will end with a prescription. And the reason this happens, you can't really blame your doctors here. They're kind of in a tough situation. The average national visit for a medical clinic is 6 minutes. So you can imagine that they have 6 minutes to get to the next room. And they've studied this. 60% of patients that come to their offices, to a medical facility, come with a recommendation or asking for a medication. And 80% get that. This is a stat. So when the doctor hears that the patient wants Nexium for acid reflux, they write the prescription. And when you write the prescription and you hear that script being taken off, it ends the appointment. So we live in this world. So when they go to these offices, they're almost being minimized. When the doctor just writes it down, gives them a script, minimal eye contact, they're out the door, the patient almost thinks it's normal to have headaches every single day. It must be normal. But when they come to our office, our reality is it is not normal to have headaches once a month, let alone 7 days a week, 5 days a week. So it's our job in the consultation to bring them to our reality and let them know, Mary, I'm glad you're here. This is not normal. We're going to do a thorough exam to figure out what's causing those headaches. I'm glad you're here. Whatever your consultation is, the end product is to bring them to our reality. Okay, the objective exam is typically about 5 minutes. And I don't do a head to toe exam. I just hit the chief complaints. If they have low back pain, shoulder pain, and sciatica, I'm going to find my best 4 to 5 orthos for the lower back and my best 4 to 5 orthos and palpation techniques for, for the shoulder. So this is not, I've seen some doctors that do like a 20-minute orthopedic exam. I get it, but in this situation, less is more. If you need to do a full exam, do it on day 2 or day 3. Just don't do it on the first day. The goal is not to create confusion. Hopefully that works.
Whoop, hold on. Sorry. My keynote just shut down. I'll get it right back up. Give me 1 second.
No problem. We'll go to the next section, which is diagnostics. Now, diagnostics is typically x-rays. If you don't have x-rays, you can use a different tool. It could be diagnostic ultrasound, which in most states, it's part of our scope. If you're a chiropractor on this call and you're not trained on diagnostic ultrasound and it's part of your scope in your state, like Washington, it's part of your scope. I believe in Florida, there's a handful of, no, more than a handful of states like Oregon, it's part of your scope. Learn diagnostic ultrasound. It's a billable service and you get to see all the soft tissue structures. You can get to see tears in the shoulder. X-rays are for alignment and arthritis and space in the joints. Ultrasound exams, diagnostic ultrasound, are for soft tissue injuries. It gives you crucial information that you can show the patient. X-rays gives you crucial information that you can show the patient. So typically we allocate about 10 minutes for the diagnostics. If you can do 2 sets of diagnostics, that would be great. X-rays and postural exam. Like I'm a big fan of posturepro.com. They do a great job of educating the patient on their posture. Or X-rays and ultrasound. 1's okay, but 2 is even better. Now, the most important part here is fluffy treatment, which we're gonna get into. I'll explain that in just a few minutes. We're all told by consultants, do not treat on the first day. Do not treat on the first day. I've heard that so many times. I always treat on the first day, especially if you do chiropractic. You don't necessarily have to do chiropractic. You can do shock wave, laser, muscle work. You want to create change. But as chiropractors, we're almost cheating. Like if someone comes in with low back pain, we can decrease their lower back pain by 30%, 40%, 50% after 1 visit. That is mind-blowing. No other profession can do that. And when you do that, you increase the affinity for the office. I've had so many times where a patient walks in, they're got this little look on their face. They're asking the front desk, well, I only want to do what my insurance covers. Once you get past the treatment, the fluffy treatment phase, they've come in with sciatica, knee pain, you put laser on the knee, you do shock wave on their lower back, or you do some muscle work, and you create just enough change. It doesn't have to be a lot. Usually the patient's thinking, wow, I'm glad I found this place.
Yeah.
They're not thinking, I'm only going to do what my insurance covers. So to me, this is crucial. You have to have fluffy treatment in. It doesn't have to be the adjustment. You can do a mini adjustment, you can do no adjustment, but have something in place. I know every doctor on this call has their gem in their toolbox. I've seen you guys do psoas work, which just blows a patient's mind, muscle work, ART. I mean, you can cheat by having a laser machine. Class 4 lasers are amazing. If someone walks in with knee pain and they're limping, you can literally get them out of pain within minutes, and you let them know this isn't fixed. This is just, we call it the rate of change, how your body's going to respond. And it did help. This gives me an idea. So when you come in tomorrow for your care plan, we'll base it off this rate of change and we'll put a treatment plan in place. And then the closing protocol I'll talk about. The closing protocol is done just seconds before the financial. And that's if anybody has objections, is this going to work for me? What about my insurance? Worried about cost, distance, whatever it is, whatever objections they have, it gets handled before the financial. And the financial, doesn't matter how long it is. If it takes 1 hour, it takes 1 hour. This is what builds an office. I've always been told, and there's no right or wrong answer to this, I've always been told that your current patients are the most important. They're more important than a new patient because the current patients have already committed to you and they've already committed to care. I totally get that. But I believe that the new patients are more important because they're what's going to grow the office. We know our overhead, we have payroll, we have rent, we have all these expenses for a medical facility. The new patients grows the office. And when you can grow the office, you can be creative and create more service centers. You have more income, you can buy more equipment. So when it comes to a new patient, if the financial takes 1 hour, spend an hour. Okay, so day one, we talked about how important it is to bring them to our reality. I'm just going to read this slide. The goal is to increase the reality of the patient's condition and how it is affecting their daily life. How often does this affect you? How does it affect you standing, walking, going downstairs? I always say this, how long has it been this bad for? How long has it been this bad for? We call that a maximizer. Is it like this every day? Is it this constant? This state, this is no way to live. This is no way to function. I'm glad you found us. Utilize your maximizers. Now, maximizers are words like, sorry to hear that. That's not okay. That's not normal. How long has it been this bad for? I've seen so many doctors, I'd say 90% of doctors that I train do a lot of okay. When you do okays and ums, you're minimizing. Okay, now make it your own. I trained a doctor recently. She's actually she's not fully licensed yet. She just graduated. Great doctor, and we were role playing on the consultation, and they never taught her how to use maximizers in school, which is understandable. And I had to really explain it to her. And then she watched me do a new patient exam, and it totally made sense because I was able to bring that patient to our reality by utilizing maximizers. And you have to make it your own. If I give you my maximizers and it's not you, don't use them. Make them your own, whatever you need to do, but no more ums, no more okays, okay. Those have to get out of your new patient consult.
And can I just interrupt here? Sorry, Sonny, I'll let you go in just a minute, but I think inherent, like the foundational point that you're making here is you can be seen as the same thing that they've seen everywhere else, the status quo. Okay. And that can be a pattern that they see in you, and then you're no different. Or you can take a moment to position yourself as a professional, as a specialist, as an advisor, which is the biggest one, as an advisor, right? Because an advisor is experienced enough. There's a difference between skill and experience. An advisor is experienced enough to identify symptoms as a down source clue of an upstream problem. And if you basically say there's no clues here, then why are they there in the first place? So I know that this is an uncomfortable pattern of speech for a lot of people, but you got to do it. You have to do this. Okay. If you don't do this, you're only hurting them first, quite frankly, and then yourself.
Yeah. And just one other thing, if you have a case manager that does the consultations, that's great. We do the same thing, but do not pass this off until they have certainty. So when a doctor does this, they have certainty. Like Mary, it's not normal to have headaches every single day. That we have certainty because we've seen the changes. But if you have a new case manager, if they don't have certainty, it shows up in their tone. Do not pass this off until they have certainty. Make them record testimonials of patients. Make them, follow up with patients at the re-exam saying, how are you doing? They need to have that certainty of how amazing your office is, and they need to live it. Once they live it, their tone will change and it becomes more real or more sincere. That when what you don't want is your case manager saying, Mary, so sorry to hear that. It's not sincere. So they have to have certainty. So wait till they have that before you put them on this post.
Yeah.
Besides
Meaning they need to believe in what you guys are doing.
Right.
Yes. Okay. I couldn't agree more.
Okay. Fluffy treatment. You might lose some people on this slide here, Sam.
I was just going to say, I wrote in the chat, those neural pathways are firing off like crazy with this one. Go ahead, Sonny. I couldn't agree with you more, by the way. Yeah.
So I know that a lot of doctors do not treat on the first day. I get it. I totally understand. I've used many consultants in the past. You don't have to adjust, but you have to do something. Treatment objective is to create some form of change, decrease pain, which helps with the financial close. Try to also utilize the doctor's technique with adjusting and myofascial release to create change. The more change you can make, the higher the chance the patient will commit to care. So what this does is it creates affinity. Now, I've been told, well, what if they feel so much better that they never come back for day 2? That's not going to happen. If you've had a patient who's had pain for a year and they get 100% out of pain after visit 1, they are definitely coming to day 2. Now, once or twice a year, you can have someone not come back for day 2. Yes, but you don't want them as a patient anyway. So once you do this, it could be shockwave, laser, could be myofascial release, could be IFC, just create change. And when you do that and you're doing some form of treatment, it changes the energy in the office and increases the affinity for the patient in the office. And this helps with the financial close, it helps with the scripts, and whatever negative thoughts they had or objections or setbacks, they're usually gone. Like we've had that patient walk in. If you're a chiropractic office, you see this a lot with male spouses. So like a female comes in, she's 50, she's done phenomenal, loves your office, wrote a Google review. And then she takes her like a year to drag her husband in, and he doesn't want to be there. He does not want to be there. He's got his arms crossed, does half the intake, maybe does the first page and saying, well, I'm just here to talk to the doctor. Once you get past the consult, the objective exam, the diagnostics, and then you get to fluffy treatment and you get that patient feeling better, all that goes out the window. So this is crucial.
All right, next slide.
Yeah. So then after that, so if you're doing the financial on the first day, you do the closing protocol. If you do the financial on the second day, this is done on the second day, right before the financial. So the closing protocol is before presenting a care plan for future visits, you need to ensure that the patient is committed and on board with the treatment plan. The patient should have absolutely no more questions left. If there's even an ounce of confusion, the patient will not start. If there's a confusion about their insurance, if there's a confusion about, will this work for me? If there's a confusion about office hours, they are not starting care. Okay. And I'm going to explain 1 through 4. These are the 4 steps that are done in the closing protocol. And then Sam, I'll just do it live on you like you're a patient.
Sure.
Okay. So have the patient acknowledge that the problem will get worse. It has to come out of their mouth. I don't recommend asking this. Don't ask, what do you think will happen if we do nothing? You want the patient to state it. So you should never be like, Mike, this is going to get worse. You want them to state it. Number 2, commend the patient for being at a wellness office and put a number in their head. Number 3, explain all treatment modalities in detail. You never want them asking your case manager at the financial, so what is laser for? So why do I need to do the muscle work? It should be addressed here. Now, double your close is this. When you do this part, it's recommended, and I don't even do this, and I should, is you should walk them through the office where they're going to be getting that treatment. So it's like, Mike, we're going to be doing chiropractic. This is our chiropractic bay. We use these 3 tables. And again, that's to mobilize the joints, take the pressure off the nerves. Let's head to the laser room because we're going to be doing laser. So Mike, that's our laser machine, which we did on you earlier today. That's to accelerate the healing inside your knee. And then let's go over to the muscle work room. That's where we're going to be doing your ART. After your appointments, you'll be coming into this room. So when they walk from room to room, it increases the reality on what they're trying to do, and they get it. And this actually works really, really well. I also do drawings. I actually draw out every modality I'm going to be doing. So if it's decompression, I draw 2 vertebrae that are separating. I show them what the chiropractic is going to do. It's going to move these joints. I show them that there's scar tissue building along the side. We'll use shockwave to break up those, break up those adhesions. So you can double your close by giving them a tour while you explain each modality, or you can draw it.
Let me just stop right there. Show beats tell. I've said this a bunch of times. Show beats tell. People, if you're telling them, they'll be like, okay, but if you walk them through, if you show, if you draw pictures, any way you can demonstrate, demonstration is the most powerful form of proof. So show beats tell.
Yeah. And then the last one, get the patient's commitment from 1 to 10. So let's just do this live. Here we go.
Well, I want to just say this real fast. You and I did not collaborate on this at all, but this to me is the same flow of my green light process. Red light, green light. If you got a red light, you can't go any further, right? Yeah. But once you got all greens, you're good to go. Okay, let's go ahead and do the role play.
Okay, Sam, ask all my patients this question. Let's say with your lower back and sciatica, let's say we did no treatment for a whole year. What do you think would happen to your lower back and leg pain?
I'm sure it definitely wouldn't be getting any better.
Yeah, it's probably going to get worse like it has in the last year.
Yeah.
Okay. And I commend you for being here. Most patients don't come here. They don't come to a wellness office. They don't come to a decompression office. They go to urgent care. They get steroid shots. They go see their doctor. They get pain meds. They get more steroid shots. They get a referral for an MRI. They get more over-the-counter meds, more prescription meds. They'll do this year after year, and they'll waste $6,000 to $8,000 of their insurance company's money, but they're not actually fixing anything. So I commend you for being here. Now, I'm going to pause here for a second. The reason we put a number in their head is to create a little bit of anxiety, because if Dr. Sam's going to fix this, it's going to cost more than it was for patch care. And it doesn't. Your care plan is going to be a lot less. Okay. Now, your treatment plan, Sam, is going to consist of 3 services. We're going to be doing chiropractic. That's to mobilize the fixated joints and take the pressure off the nerves. Number 2, we're going to do decompression, which opens up the disc space and takes the pressure off the nerve plexus, the machine that you were on today. We'll also do laser therapy, which is to accelerate the healing in that area. Now, Sam, any questions on these 3 modalities?
No, they all make sense to me.
Now, another question I ask all my patients on a scale of 1 to 10 for commitment. 10 is you'll do whatever it takes. You're excited. You'll do all your home exercise. You're committed. You're 10. Or 1, you'll do the bare minimum, make some appointments, miss some appointments. You're not really that committed. Where are you from 1 to 10?
I'm a 8 or a 9. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. If they're an 8, 9, or if they're a 9 or 10, continue on to the financial. But so I'm going to ask you again, Sam, and just say 6. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you're fully committed, you'll do whatever it takes. 1, you'll do the bare minimum, not too committed. Where are you, Sam?
I don't know, 6 or 7, right around there, I guess.
Okay, so if they're a 6 or 7, they have an objection that has not been addressed.
Genius.
Okay, so then I would word it. Okay, so Sam, let me word this a little bit differently. You've had this for a year. You're missing work. It's hard to get in and out of the car. You're sleeping 3 to 4 hours a night. Why aren't you at 10? Why are you at 6?
I think, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it might be a lot more than I can afford, I guess. I just don't know. I'm
okay. Well, let me rephrase that. Forget about cost. Let's just say you had Bill Gates' bank account. What would be your commitment then?
Oh, a 10.
Okay. Now, we never let finances stop patients from getting care. So I don't want you to stress about finances. We have monthly options. We use a company called Care Credit. We're going to go over that in just a few minutes. I just want you committed, and you are great. So we handle that issue, and we use Care Credit. We use Proceed. We use ClearGauge. We always have financing programs in place.
I thought you were snapping out of character for a minute. Like I thought you were going to be explaining things, but that's you like did it so masterfully.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm addressing the objection and you're redirecting. I'm like, oh no, he's not explaining this to the watchers. He's actually doing it. I'm like, oh, that was
I'm doing
good.
It. Yeah. And that's what you have to be this good. The reason you have to be this good is if they leave that office without a commitment, or they leave with a photocopy. I hate the photocopy one.
I didn't know.
We know
people
where
asked
they're
for
going.
photocopies.
We know
Yeah.
exactly where they're going. They're going to the urgent care. They're going to their 6-minute medical appointment with a prescription. So you have to be very good at this. Okay.
Can I just say one thing real quick? When you did the step 2, okay, we didn't talk about this in the other slides, and I think it's important. There was 2 things you actually did there. You put a number in their head. That was good. But you also, a friend of mine who's a copywriter calls it Hell Island. He says you have to give the reader, in his case, in your case, the patient, you have to give them a visual representation of Hell Island, meaning all of the things that conspire against them and that will happen if they don't, like if they choose a different way. So you said, I commend you for not steroids, for no emergency room, for not, all, like you laid out a scenario that was Hell Island. And you gave, in my own mind, as you're saying that, I'm having like this visual, like, I'm not going to say epiphany, maybe realization that, yeah, that's what I was thinking. And that's wrong. Like, I'm almost coming to, while you're on step 2, I'm almost coming to this conclusion. Like, I think he's right. I think I can't do that way, that approach. And while you did it to put a number in my head, I think you also put a visual scenario in my head that was equally as important as a person who studies persuasion. So I thought that was masterful.
Awesome. Perfect. Yeah. So then what we do is then if they're a 9 or a 10, if they're not a 9 or a 10, they're still a 6. And I say, hey, we don't let finances stop patients from getting care. Let's say that you had Bill Gates' bank account and they don't go to a 10, 99% do. If there's still a 6 or 7, there's an objection that hasn't been handled. We typically add another day. We don't do the financial. So if you can't get them to a 9 or 10, 8, 9 or 10, do not do the financial. That's my rule of thumb. It doesn't happen very often. If you're trained on handling their objections, seeing if there's an objection, pulling on it and handling it. So
is that the biggest one you get, do you think, by the way?
No, the 2 most common are money and will this work for me? Those are the 2 most common. That handles 80% of all objections. Okay. Other ones are distance. They're worried about vacations coming up. There could be, they need their medical decision maker, their spouse there. These are all things that can be handled. But the 2, again, Sam, the 2 most common ones are money / insurance. Will my insurance cover it? Cost. And the second one, will this work for me?
Can we go back and do that one?
Okay, which one? Will this work for me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So Sam, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you're fully committed, you'll do whatever it takes. 1, you'll do the bare minimum. Where's your commitment from 1 to 10?
Like a 6 or a 7.
Okay, so you've had this for a year. You can barely function. You're not sleeping well. You're sleeping 3-4 hours a night. Why aren't you a 10? Why are you a 6?
Like, honestly, it hurts so bad that the idea that we're talking about this actually working, meaning I'm going to get completely better, like done, doesn't seem realistic to me.
No, I totally get it. So at our office, we only put care plans together for patients we can help. We say what we do. Now, our Google reviews are 4.8 out of 5 online. And the reason our Google reviews are 4.8 out of 5, they're high, is because we say what we do. We have some patients that come in here, Sam, that we can't help. They were referred by their neighbors that we helped. But if we can't help them, we don't put a care plan together. And they appreciate that. In your situation, we honestly believe we can help you. So we say what we do. And believe it or not, end of script here. So believe it or not, Sam, that actually handles it. I have some handlings on vacation that are somewhat effective, but this one handles it, because what happens is they start shaking their head, they start nodding up and down. They've already seen your reviews. Yeah. You can't be one of those clinics that doesn't get results and have 4.8 out of 5. It's impossible.
I think that it's just the one, you're addressing it. So that's number one, you're addressing it, you're communicating it. And then 2 is you believe it. Like, and so even in your, like, as you were doing this, even though we're role playing, I feel like, oh yeah, he's not messing around. Like he actually believes this. So, I mean, the fact that those are the 80% of the objections, those 2 things, I think those, one, the money thing you handled like a pro, that was easy. Like it seemed effortless to me. And then two, all you got to do is believe in what you're doing. Okay, good. All right, let's move on. I'm sorry. I was just
No,
observing.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So for financial options, we do a prepay, half down, and financing. There's only three options that we do. So prepay, half down, and financing. And financing flow. This is something I learned this past year. I do trainings. I'm heading to Los Angeles today. And I always ask before I show up there, do you guys have financing programs? I like to have 3: care credit, proceed, whatever. Just always have 3 options. Because if the first one doesn't go through, go to the second one. If the second one doesn't go through, go to the third one. But one thing I didn't check was, do they have a system? So recently I went to an office and they just handed the patient a iPad saying, oh, you want to use care credit? Just fill out this application and walk out of the room. The patient doesn't know, they don't remember the amounts. They don't remember anything. So there's a certain flow to processing care credit. If someone chooses care credit, the downside is, will they get approved? Will they get approved? So this is an art form. So when someone says, yeah, I'll choose option C, which is financing, I'll do the 24-month option. What you do is you have a computer or a laptop. You as a case manager or doctor are processing this. I recently just listened to Dr. Schreier in Florida. He does this himself. He's very good at it. Like, I mean, very good. And he's asking the patient, what's your monthly income, what's your social security, and you're processing yourself. Now, our policy is if they get denied, we don't tell them, then we try to do half and see if that gets processed. As long as we can get half, we'll owner finance, we'll office finance the rest. Then if that doesn't go through, we still don't tell them. We go to the second company and we process that one. If that one doesn't get denied, then we go to the third company. So we're hoping within the 3 companies, we get some form of approval. But it has to be done by the office, the doctor or the case manager, whoever it is. And there's nothing wrong with a doctor sitting across a patient with a computer entering in care credit information. It's your fixed idea if you think it's strange.
Yes, I agree.
I know lots of doctors. So I've never done this. I'm being a critic here, but I've never done this, but I wish I had learned. I actually do not know how to use care credit, and it's on my list of things to do this month. Is I just want to process one patient so I can say I did it. And as far as I know, it's very, very straightforward. But it's an art form you have to practice. You got to practice, because if you don't process the care credit that day, 80 to 90% chances you just kill the energy in the office. They're not coming back. And I bet you there's doctors on this call right now. I can't see your faces. You're nodding up and down. That's happened to you. You do the perfect close. They choose care credit, but you weren't able to fully close them. They weren't able to get approved. They walk out the door and you never saw them again.
Yeah.
And advanced close. This is something that I have a lot of clients that are just rock stars at this. You have to practice this. And when a patient says something after the financial, well, let me go home and run this by my wife, right? The exact energy and the words that come out of your mouth the second after they say that matter. You have to practice this. You can't stall. There's no ums. There's no looking left or right, having nervous energy. So if someone says to me, Sam, say to me, okay, Sam, here's option A, prepaid $2,500. Option B, half down is $1,200, blah, blah, blah. Option C is financing, 18 months, 24 months. What option works best for you, Sam?
Option C.
Well, I want you to say, well, let me, I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. You're so good at it. You just closed me, buddy. Actually, would you mind if I just took this sheet home with me and ran it by my wife?
Yeah, that's not a problem at all. I'll make you a photocopy, but Sam, here's what we find, and we've started this, is when patients go home, life happens. They get busy with work, they get busy with grandkids, they get busy with sports after school. And what happens is time goes by. 1 month goes by, 2 months go. We've actually said this. Sometimes even 4 or 5 months go by before the patient makes it back. And usually their condition, like in your situation, the lower back issue gets worse. Now, what I'd rather do is something different. Let's do a week of care. A week of care is just 2 decompressions, 2 chiropractic adjustments. And the cost for a week of care is, come up with a number, 295, like the actual number for that. Make sure you know it ahead of time. So Sam, it's only 295. After that week of care, the 2 decompression, the 2 chiropractic, you'll feel better. You'll have less pain. You'll have more range of motion. Sitting to standing should be easier, and you'll have more reality on what we're trying to achieve. Then at the end of that week, Sam will sit down like this, like we are right now. We'll sit down like this. And if you decide you want to continue on, I'll put the 295 towards one of these ABC options, so you still get the full discount overall. Sam, does that sound fair?
Yeah, that sounds.
Okay.
That
Is
sounds.
that something?
You know what? Let's just go ahead and do it. I'll do option C. I don't need to talk to my wife. She doesn't run my life. I have my own life. Come on, let's do option C. Let's go. You motivated me.
Your wife definitely runs your wife. So
That's true. That's true. Actually, honey, if you watch this, I'm just joking. It's a joke. I'm impressing all these people here. Sorry.
So if you can get them to commit to a week of care, it's the 70-90 rule, 70-90. Okay, now it only works 70% of the time where they'll actually put 1 week of care down, the 295 down. Okay, 30% still want to go home and talk to their wife. But here's the kicker: if they pay for this week of care, 90% commit to the whole plan a week later. Yeah, you can stat this. This definitely works. Get them to commit to a week of care. 90% will commit to the whole care plan, and it's easy to understand. They'll get 2 more decompressions, 2 more chiropractics. They'll feel the energy in the office. They'll see amazing changes in 2 visits. What profession gets changes in 2 visits? It's just us. Literally, it's just us. So this is something you have to practice and own.
This is the puppy dog close. This is why, when you go to the auto dealer, why they want to get you to drive that car. This is why if you're going to the pet store, they're like, oh, just go play with the puppy for a little while.
Yeah.
You'll emotionally become invested in the transition. And once you're there, you're good to go. All right. Next slide.
Okay. Yeah. Next slide. Okay. Now this is the last slide. I'm going to give you just what I say for these are objections. These are what you're going to hear after you, you do a financial. So I'll tell you what I do. And some of my closes, my objection handlings aren't perfect. Like I'll give you number 4, upcoming vacations. It only works half the time, if that. So most of them are like, no, I'm still going to go on my vacation and I'll see you afterwards, which sucks. And I've heard some doctors have some very successful ones. So that's something I'm working on, how to handle that better. So objective is to create clear communication with the patient and handle any objections they have regarding starting care. Now, possible objections could be cost of care, affordability. We just let them know we never let finances stop patients from getting care. We have monthly options. Always kind of in the back of your head know what the monthly options are. We have some care plans that are $60, $70 a month, which is care credit. We have some care plans that are $60, $70 a month, and we never let finances be an issue. We will find a way to make this affordable. Mike, if we need to do 60% of the care plan just to make it affordable, I'll do that. It's better than not doing anything at all. So figure out your close, get them to a 10 and handle it. Number 2.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm going to ask you a question at the end of this. I know we're kind of coming up on time. Since we've covered the bulk of the objections, maybe just kind of go through these one fast. I have a really important question that kind of ties the whole thing together. So I won't interrupt you anymore. Let's go through the rest of these objections.
Okay. So will the treatment plan work for me? And I'll just do it again. And if you guys can make notes, it's basically, Mike, we only put treatment plans together for patients we can help. If we couldn't help you out, we would not put a care plan together. Our reviews online are 4.8 out of 5 on Google. The reason they're high, we say what we do. We have some patients that come in here whose neighbors referred them in here. Their neighbors had amazing results, but we couldn't, when we did a treatment plan, when we did an examination, we were not able to help them out. So we didn't even put a care plan in place. So the reason our reviews are high is we say what we do. And in your situation, we believe we can help you. We can help with your lower back and sciatica, and we've already seen changes. So yes, we believe we can help you. So that's how I handle that.
Okay, love it.
Okay. Office hours, patient schedule to commit to care. This is an easy one. Usually it's like, well, I'm worried about me getting off of work and what time you guys close. Well, Mike, what time do you get off of work? I get off of work at 4:30. Mike, we're here till 6, so you're fine. Now, sometimes you'll have some patients that start work at 4 in the morning. They don't get home till 8 p.m. at night. That's a problem. So what you tell them is, not an issue, Mike. You're going to come in twice a week in the beginning, Mondays and Wednesdays, for example. On those days, you would get off of work early and we'd have a doctor's note ready for you. Okay. And that's the handle. We would have a doctor's note ready for you.
Okay.
Now, 20% of the time, this does not work. If it's a lead, like a team lead who's on a construction site, he can't leave. You will have that, but 80% of the time it's handled. Now, we've all had those, those patients where they can only come in 1 day a week. It's tough because we can't get the results we want at
the speed
1 day a week. You just got to find a way to, to make it work. But 80% of the time you can handle it with a doctor's note. Number 3, office hours, patient, that's the one. Number 4 is upcoming vacations. Now, this is what I do. Yeah, so Sam, I choose option C. So Dr. Gill, I choose option C, or I choose option A. I want to pay for this, but I want to start my care plan once I get back from my vacation, which is in a week. It's for 10 days. Now, you never let that much time go by. The way you treat these patients over the next 48 hours matters.
Yes.
It's crucial that what you do, like if someone signs up for a care plan, if let's say they're doing PRP, when do we do their PRP injection? We do it right there and then. When you buy a car, you drive off with it right there and then.
Yes.
If you can, like I know there's a doctor that I'm working with in Winnipeg, and he's creating a home care kit. So when they sign up for a neuropathy program, they get this massive home care kit, and he opens up all the packages, rips open the plastic, gives it to them, so they're in. Yes. Yeah, you never let 7 to 10 days go by like a vacation.
It's the rule of 3. It's the rule of 3. You don't let 3 days go by.
Yeah, and if you can't do the treatment, start a major treatment right then and there, like a home care kit or PRP, or if it's like a decompression session, you have them come in the next day. Yeah, and if you don't know who's going to get in their ear, their medical doctor, their spouse, their neighbor, like, what did you do? You want them in back to back. Okay. Upcoming vacations. It's like, oh, well, this is great. I'll do option 8, but I'll start this when I'm back from a vacation. In a week, I'm gone for 10 days. Mike, actually, our office policy is, Sam, our office policy is we start care right away, like today, and we'll give you your home care on your next visit. You'll do that date every single day as well. And then when you're on your vacation in 7 days, you'll do that over 10 days. And then when you come back to our office, that's the most ideal situation for us. And, this way we don't have any flare-ups. And if we need to tack on an extra couple of decompression sessions, like 1 or 2 at the end of the care, we won't charge you for it. So we start today. So be very, very, very assertive. Now, does this always work? No. Some patients are like, yeah, no, I'm going to see you when I get back from my vacation. So I don't, I need to work on this. I would love it if 80% were compliant with this one, but they're not. And I know there's doctors on this call that have a great script. So if you can send that to Sam, that would be awesome. Office location, distance from their house. This is something you just acknowledge. These are patients just verbalizing what they're thinking.
That's an important point.
Yeah.
It's
so
not
Sam,
necessarily an objection.
So you've done, yeah, exactly. You've gone over A, B, and C. Mike, Sam, what option works best for you? There's a pause. Yeah, but you guys are like 2 hours away. I understand. Just 1 or 2 words, I understand. And you just stay quiet. What happens is doctors get nervous and they just keep talking and talking and talking. And you don't do that. If another example would be, wow, that's a lot of money. It is. It is, Sam. That's it. 1 or 2 words. And they usually pick an option in 20 or 30 seconds. Sometimes they'll pause for a minute. Yeah. They will say, yeah, let's just go with A.
And just sit in the silence.
Yes. This is so hard for doctors. I mean,
so hard.
I love this. I start.
It means they're making a decision.
Yeah. They're just making a decision. And if you start talking, you lose.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's exactly right.
May need approval from their medical doctor. And again, this reverts back to the 1 week close. So it's like, Sam say to me, well, let me run this. This is all great stuff. I need to run this
by my doctor, Dr. Gill.
Sam, I totally understand. But the issue with that is your doctor's not versed on decompression therapy, laser therapy, and the techniques that we use at our office. And we find that if you go there and explain everything to them, they just create so much confusion that the patient actually doesn't get any care. Like, you won't actually get care and your back's going to stay the same. I don't mind getting on the phone with your doctor either, but we feel like the same thing happens. We just create more confusion and the patient doesn't start care.
I like
So
that.
I
I don't
recommend,
mind. I
yeah,
like that. I don't mind getting on the phone with your doctor. I like that.
yeah,
I haven't
yeah.
heard that.
So
That's beautiful.
Sam, what I recommend is let's just do this instead. Forget this plan. I put it
Yes.
upside down. Let's forget this. Let's do a week of care. A week of care is 2 decompression, 2 chiropractic. And that's a week of care. The 2 decompression, 2 chiropractic is only $295. It's not the whole plan. It's a week of care. After a week, you'll feel better. You'll have less pain. You'll have more range of motion. You should be able to get it in and out of your car a little bit better. It'll give you more reality on what we're trying to achieve. And in that meantime, you can go see your doctor. At the end of the week, we'll sit down like this. And then if you decide you want to continue on, I'll just put the $295 towards option A, B, or C. So you still get the discount overall. Does that sound fair?
Yeah. And the only approval you're going to need is from your ballet instructor to tell you when you're ready to get back into the ring. I don't know, whatever. Okay. They need approval from their spouse or family member. That's the same one we just did. So there's a really important to kind of put a bow on this, and then we'll go to a quick Q&A. If you guys have questions, please use the chat right now. Okay. So I can address that quickly after I ask Dr. Gill this very important question. So you, Dr. Sanan Gochman, and he said it was okay that I asked these questions and get, your answers. Dr. Gochman, he's been in practice for a long time. And when he sent me that message, I know what to do now. I was like so blown away. And then I talked with him, talked with you, and we're talking about a practice transformation from, a typical practice, 30, 40,000 a month to double or more.
Yeah.
That every month. So
within 1 month. Yeah. Within 1 month.
And in his words, in a day, meaning the change, the mental change that he needed in order to see and do happened in a day. So can you kind of contextualize all of these 5 steps that we've just gone through in relating how you experienced Dr. Gochman's transformation from start to finish?
Yeah, Dr. Gochman's a really intelligent guy, but he was missing 1 or 2 simple things. And a lot of times when I'm on the phone with doctors, it's hard for me to figure out what the missing thing is, even though we're on the phone, we're walking it through. A lot of times I have to go on site. So I actually went to his office in Davenport, Iowa. I don't know if you guys have been there, but that's where the birthplace of chiropractic is. So I took a picture with the first in downtown. There's a plaque that says the first adjustment was done here for I believe Harvey. So it's an awesome town. But I flew out there and we actually did a lecture. I believe we signed up about 10 patients from the lecture that came to the office. And then we, side by side, we did the new patient exams, the consultations, the objective exam, the fluffy treatment, the diagnostics, the closing protocol, and the financial presentation. Then we did it again with the next patient. Then we did it again with the following patient. Then we typed up the flow, which was different for every office, depending on what equipment you have, what diagnostics you have, what fluffy treatment you have. And we closed, and we had some reactivated patients that showed up for the day. We did the same thing with them, and they closed. We had a reactivated patient. Chiropractors always drive me nuts with reactivated patients. They come in after a year, you adjust them, tell them to come back later in the week. No, treat those patients like a new patient. Redo the x-rays, do the consultation. And he had one of those come in, and they paid $3,000 for a decompression plan the next day. So we put the system in place, and he saw it live. That was the big difference. And there were a couple small key things that weren't in that we put in, and that was it. He's closing like there's no tomorrow, having $25,000 weeks.
I was going to say, I spoke with him. So the day that all happened that you were talking about was, if I look at my calendar, that was the week of the 1st through the 5th. I think I might be getting my dates a little fuzzy, but it was around there, the 1st through the 5th. And that's when you guys did your on-site visit. The next week, so without you there, he did $25,000 in cash.
On his own.
Which he had never done before. And I actually spoke with him yesterday, and I didn't realize that nuance, which I think is a really important distinction, meaning obviously when you're there, he's able to, do it because you're doing it with him. But without you there, the next week, boom, he goes through. And that was the week when he sent me that message and said, I need more leads. Okay. All of his lights turn green, all of them, not just the ones up front, but the most important one really, which is conversion and case value. How did he go from such a low case value? Because that was his primary problem, from a low case value to a high case value. Now I'm going to ask this in a part A, part B. One, I want to, I think, and you can validate this if I'm wrong. I feel like most of the time, the problem isn't necessarily that doctors don't know how to put together a care plan, don't know how to say, here's the number, meaning the protocol we've just gone through. I kind of feel like it's how they determine what they would pay for it, right? And so they undervalue the service that they provide. So with maybe I hope I didn't like take us in a direction that I'm mucking up the situation. I want to know from you, how did he specifically go from 1, and I think he said 4, it could be more, from a $1,000 case value for the cases he was working on to a $4,000 case value?
Yeah, it was just basically his closing rate wasn't there. Some doctors do have that issue about value of care. Dr. Sanan Gochman did, and he was presenting the higher dollar care plans. It's just with his closing rate wasn't there. So once we put the system in place, the closing rate went up for the higher dollar plans, and that was the key. And then another thing we did is we taught him how to read, if someone has insurance, how to read the verification of insurance, the verification of benefits, how to match it up with the intake, the chief complaint, and how to mesh it together and create a care plan and present it to the patient with zero confusion. So that's something that we added as well. So which helps his case value, because patient might pay $2,000 out of their own pocket, but then their insurance is going to pay another 2 or 3. So that added to his case value as well.
Well, and I want to say, I mean, when I talk to people, when we have our green light system, when I talk to people, I ask them questions that pertain to each checkpoint. And one of them is, what's your case value for this? Right. And if it's a low case value, because I know what the case value should be. We have over 100 customers. I see what people are doing. I talk to doctors all the time. Then then at that point, I need to ascend them over to you to say, hey, we're green until that thing. That's not something I am positioned to fix. And when they come to you, you can, in terms of presenting the care plan by following this protocol, as well as compiling, creating the care plan. Is that kind of the 1-2 combo that really makes those case values, worthwhile and what we say in the business, high ticket?
Yeah. So the way we do a 3-page presentation, page 1 is the patient goals. Page 2 is the exact services they're going to be getting and times that by the value. So at the very bottom, they'll have the total amount. Page 3 is option A, B, and C. Option A is a prepay option with a discount. Option B is half down with monthly payments. Option C is financing. There's very little, we keep it so simple. So simple. There's very little moving parts to our 3-page, but it's all designed for flow.
Yeah. And as you're going through the different components of your care plan, just by explaining them, once again, we're talking about like simple communication skills, just by explaining them, going through and deconstructing and saying what each one is going to do and how it's going to add to the next, I think there's a ton of value. So we got a couple questions here. I know you actually have kind of written them. Let's see here. Number 1 is, what financing companies do you use besides Care Credit?
Yeah, so we use Care Credit, Proceed, and we've started using ClearGauge. ClearGauge's program has changed, where they don't take such a big fee up front, so we're using ClearGauge. Actually, I was at Dr. Gochman's office. They use SmartPay, and their approval rate's about 80%. So we're looking into that. But just find your 3 and put that system in place.
Okay. And then Ginger asked, is this typically more geared for private pay versus insurance fee for service patients?
Both. It's the same. Most patients have a $5,000 deductible, so they're cash anyway. Or if they have insurance, they have 12 visits. So if they have a 20-visit chiropractic plan and decompression, which is not covered anyway, they're cash. They're 80% cash. So both.
Okay. There's somebody asking a question in the Q&A. Can you go over to the chat, please, and ask it there, because I can't have both windows pulled up just based on the way my computer screens are. So I practice in Florida, mostly aesthetic in the office, laser, e-stim, red light, thermage ED, Anyway, I still do chiropractic, but only about 20%. Can this still work for in the aesthetic field? I guess that's the point.
Yeah, they do it better than we do it. I mean,
Yeah, I was just going to say that's an easier close. Vanity sells. Yeah, like nobody wants to get rid of their chronic pain because it kind of ebbs and flows, hence chronic, right?
Yeah, so like it's like I'm not sure if the ED stands for erectile a dysfunction. When we did P shots for the erectile dysfunction, it's the easiest close on the planet.
Easiest,
It's like,
because it's like, so
like, I've
you
never
want to
seen.
take care of this, or
Yeah, people just pull out their credit cards lightning fast, and it's always option A. So it works in every single discipline.
I had another clinic who was telling me the same thing. They bought a Gainswave and they were doing shockwave therapy for erectile dysfunction, and the doctor was like, they just sign up. Like there's no, I mean, now that's, I mean, that service center is, that's a tall question, or I don't know that you want to get in that. Anyway, long story short, yes, I just overall vanity is actually quite a bit easier, unfortunately, than chronic pain. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead. If you have other questions, you can always email me, sam@mypatientstream.com. One more thing before we go. What is next? Okay. What can we do to help you? Well, first of all, I hope you can sense and I hope you can feel like we are actually here to help. I mean, Dr. Gill has been very transparent with his, with his protocols and what he's doing. We too want to identify and show you a wide perspective on how to grow your practice. We have so many clinics that are blowing it up with the different marketing campaigns that we have and with the framework that we follow. So if you want to have a practice with all the green lights, here is what we can do. Set up a demo and discovery call. There is a URL, patientstreammasterclass.com/questionnaire. Okay. I will, in just a second, I'll put that into the chat here. But basically what we will do is, or what you do is you go to that questionnaire. You'll fill out a questionnaire about your clinic, and that clinic and that questionnaire is designed to tell me and to tell Sunny where your red lights are, where your green lights are, and then we can reach out and help you in a lot faster fashion. And I think that's very beneficial. Can you replay this? I missed the first half while treating patients. Yes, we will. I'm actually going to put, I'll have instructions on how to see this in terms of replay and all that kind of stuff. But I hope you guys have had an awesome experience here. Let me go ahead and actually go ahead.